Someone's attacking the village. Let's go get him. There's a lion coming after us. We've got to run. Nobody move. There's a saber-toothed tiger about 10 feet away. Does that sound familiar? Of course not. That's what our ancestors had to deal with. But how about this? There's somebody breaking into our house. My entire family is in here, and I've got to protect them. You're at a bar or a nightclub, and the place catches on fire. You gotta run! You're downtown in the middle of the city, watching a big event, maybe a concert, and all of a sudden, some fights start breaking out. And then there's a riot, and then people are just running all over the place, and you're, I don't know, I don't even know what to do. I don't know where to go. We are dealing with a lot different situations than our ancestors did back in the day, right? Hundreds of thousands of years ago, right? They were dealing with saber-toothed cats and villages and, you know, whatever else, dinosaurs and all this stuff, right? And we're dealing with road rage and impatient bosses and school systems and school shootings and whatever else, right? That we have a lot of our own stresses, right? And both of those situations are going to trigger the smallest part of our brain called the amygdala, right? That's all the way primal. It's there for a reason. And what that does is it triggers a fight, flight, or freeze response, okay? So the amygdala triggers and lets our adrenal glands know, which is right above our kidneys, lets them know, hey, we've got a situation here, start pumping things out, right? So it starts pumping your body full of cortisol and epinephrine and all these different adrenaline and you know, it increases our blood pressure and takes the blood away from non-essential organs at that point. It takes it away from our skin and pumps it up into our muscles. So that way we can fight, flight, or freeze, right? The problem is when those adrenal glands get stuck wide open. All day long, all night long, all year long, all right? That's when we have situations where people are getting into anxiety and bipolar and depression and all these things because they are in what's called a parasympathetic state. They can't get out of it. Their cortisol and epinephrine and adrenaline and all those things are pumping through their bloodstream constantly, and they don't know how to shut it off. They're in a constant fight, flight, or freeze mode. And what I mean by that is, in their own head, they don't know if they should be fighting someone, if they should be running away, or if they're just freezing in that moment. And they're so stuck in their own head that they can't get out. All right? That's one situation. The other situation is when certain things happen. The boss calls at 8 o'clock at night. There's someone just cut you off in traffic, or the principal calls and says, hey, can you come to the school? We need to have a talk about little Johnny. All of a sudden, you'll start getting flush and your body will tense up and the blood's pouring. And that's all adrenaline. That's all back to our primal days of when we had to fight the saber-toothed cats, okay? Here's the magic. How can you help control that? All right? Because our brains are architecturally built to feel first and think second. All right? It might be milliseconds, but that's why we feel that response and then we think. However, if we are in a parasympathetic state and our blood system is getting flooded with adrenaline, we are not going to be able to think and act rationally. We are going to think and act irrationally, making bad decisions, punching someone when we shouldn't, cutting that other person off in traffic, screaming at the principal, whatever it is. So how do we get ourselves out of that state of mind? Because when your boss calls and the principal calls and someone cuts you off in traffic, is it really survival mode? Does that amygdala really need to trigger fight, flight, or freeze? No, it doesn't. However, we're still wired back to our primal days, okay? So, a couple things here. Breathing, all right? All of us breathe. I think we do. Otherwise, I think we'd probably be dead. All of us breathe, excuse me, subconsciously. None of us breathe consciously. And this is your chance. You've got to do some tactical breathing that I learned from one of my coaches, also reading some books about breathing. Tactical breath work. And it goes like this. Consciously, you're going to take a deep belly breath. All right, we're going to breathe in, fill up that belly, that diaphragm, for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to hold that breath for 5 seconds. Then you're going to breathe out for 6. Get everything out of that diaphragm, everything out of that lungs, everything out of you. And then you're going to hold it for 2 seconds. And then you're going to repeat that whole process 5 times. That's going to get you back to center. That's going to get you back to calming your whole nervous system down from the parasympathetic state to the sympathetic state. All right? The next thing I want you to do is just look around. 5 things. I'm pulled over on the side of the road now, but I want you to think of 5 things, look at and say them out loud. 5 things that are real. So right now, I see a tree, garbage can, tape measure, my wallet, and the phone. That's going to get you out of your head. All right, that's going to get you thinking about things that are real instead of thinking things that are unreal in your head. Because our mind likes to play games, right? Does that make sense? It likes to play movies and pictures. Our mind is built for that. It's built to create movies, whether they're real or not. And we need to look at things and sound them out loud that are real, so that way we can come more grounded. Next thing, know that you can and will tackle any situation that comes your way. You absolutely can handle it. Absolutely. But if you tell yourself you can't, then you're not going to be. If you tell yourself you can, you will. It's just like the old saying goes about eating an elephant. You're not going to be able to eat an elephant in one bite. However, if you take small chunks, small bites, you can eat an elephant. I don't suggest eating elephants because they're a beautiful creature, but it's just used as a metaphor, okay? You can handle those situations, but you cannot do that when you're in your own head and you're feeling and not thinking. The only way you're going to get from that parasympathetic state of fight, flight, or freeze is breath work and finding things around you that are real. That's a couple little examples. And that'll get you back to a sympathetic state, or what's called a rest and digest. Then you can make those decisions. You can fully hear and think about things and understand what's going on and realize it's not a big deal. It's not survival mode. It's just a question your boss had, or the principal wants to talk to you about something that happened at school. It's not life or death like our ancestors had to deal with, right? Now, back to those people that are dealing with the anxiety, the stress, the bipolar, the depression. Those adrenal glands are wide open all the time. And I bet you at the same point, they're not resting correctly. They're not getting full night's sleep. They're not relaxing, and they're not digesting correctly. You know, they could be gaining weight or just not eating correctly or whatever it is, because your body is in a constant fight, flight, or freeze state. You have to take those moments in your day and breathe to truly see what's going on around you, to have that hyper vision of looking at a leaf and looking at all the veins in the leaf, or looking at the tree trunks. Look at things in a different light. So that way you can understand things differently and kind of calm that body down and slowly close those adrenal glands and stop that cortisol from pumping through your body. You will be able to rest and digest a lot better. You'll be there for your family, your coworkers, your boss, your own self, your kids, husband, spouse, wife. You'll be able to be there for them in a present situation and out of here. I hope this helps. Have a great day, everybody.